So this is some of what Schwabi is being accused of. I know I've been showing you pictures of it for days, but we'll talk a little bit about this today. I want to get all the details. I have a bunch. I want all of them. Yeah, what I've read, what I've come across so far, very damning. Apparently, there's a lot of whistleblowers, as you can read there, who have stepped forth and come forward to absolutely denounce the actions of him and his wife. So it gets far worse than people think. You know who Gretzky is? Does anybody know the hockey player Gretzky? Anybody know who Rick Tocchet is? Does anybody know who Janet Gretzky is? Now it's all kind of correlating, isn't it? Google those three names, Rick Tocchet, Janet Gretzky, and Wayner Gretzky. About, I don't know, half a dozen, 10 years ago. They got in a bit of trouble, didn't they? Okay, they got in a whack of trouble. Nobody went to jail? So really, I should be running one of these in Canada right now with the 7 NHL hockey teams that are here. I should be hooking up some serious wins on Proline, bud. You see, if I had connections to who was the goalie on both teams who are playing a game, and if I said, hey, goalie, well, there's two ways you can do it. Maybe I leverage goalie. Maybe goalie's got a wife. Maybe goalie doesn't know how to keep his dick in his own pants. Maybe goalie will lose $6 million if wife finds out he can't keep his dick in his pants, right? So they leverage him, right? First they get him a really hot chick in Chicago, playing an away game, away from his home, his family, and they can leverage you like that. They may also say, here's 50 grand, but maybe they don't have, maybe you've kept your dick in your pants. What's another way to leverage a person? Through intimidation. Very good. Threats and intimidation. Great way of leveraging people who are spineless weasels. I wouldn't start there. I would start with, hey, you want a piece of the pie? 10%? What is 10%? 10 million, 5 million, 50,000? For one game. You still get your regular paycheck. Do you want an extra $50,000 in cash? Well, I could see that happening. I think the number would be higher, be more like $500,000. Do you want this brand new boat? Do you want to have 60 vacations a year for the rest of your life? We got timeshares in every country. We've been doing this scam for a long time. You know what I mean? You know who Pete Rose is? Major League Baseball. He got caught cheating. NCAA. They've been caught cheating hundreds of times in the NCAA. Google it. NBA basketball. They've been caught cheating. NHL hockey. Janet Gretzky was betting on hockey games. They had players, you guys actually don't even know how deep it goes because they didn't actually release the truth. Had they released the truth, federal prison, fraud, as well as they were tampering with gaming, right? A licensed gaming, it's huge. They may have actually banned sports betting in NHL had they gone to the levels. That would have been trillions of dollars from then till now they would have lost. Trillions. A handful of people would have lost trillions. So, now that you understand leverage and intimidation, now let's dig deeper and go further. Corruption. How deep does it go? Well, how much is a hockey team worth, right? How many people buy a hockey team? Just a couple dirty billionaires who have profited off of the public for decades. You'll never find a billionaire who's actually earned his money. You'll find a billionaire who bought out a company or bought out hundreds of companies 20 years ago during the last recession that was, created, manipulated into place, right? These recessions are manually manipulated, right? We know that every time we go to war, a recession follows very quickly thereafter, right? We have to pick up the slack for the defense department's slack, right? They manage to get the troops there, but they can't manage to get the troops home or bring home the equipment that we went there to wage war on a poor, harmless, helpless country. We went there to take their water, right? We go overseas and we take their water. We destroy the ancient buildings, and then we bring in building projects worth billions that only a handful of Americans or North Americans get to profit from. So of course there's defense contracts that are huge. You can look up Donald Rumsfeld and 9/11, 2000, trillions of dollars missing. $3 trillion missing, Donald Rumsfeld, 9/11. Look it up. Google it. Use Google and see what you come up with. And remember, folks, this actually, like they say this is a conspiracy while it's happening. But look at the facts now. The facts are in. That happened. It happened. The money is missing. And nobody is blaming anybody because, oh, well, there's no computers anymore that can prove this. But there's paper trails on everything. But you guys in America, you didn't keep a paper trail on 3 trillion. No. Why would you keep a paper trail on 3 trillion? Right? Because the money went somewhere, right? People now have access to a fortune that there's no paper trail for. You tell me right now that that's not the craziest thing you've ever heard. But they have a paper trail on you dating back 30 years for $50,000. So you got a paper trail, but somebody who lost $3 fucking trillion 15, 20 years ago, no paper trail. But you've had a paper trail for 30 years for 50 grand, for 10 grand. Now you tell me if our system isn't fucked. But the people here, the ones who are with their eyes open, their ears aren't open. And your mind is so clouded, you all you're thinking about is the Cosby Show. You just are running reruns of the Cosby Show in your fucking pea brain right now with your eyes open, You can't wait to get home and watch Cheers. Fuck, The Simpsons are on at 5 and I'm having poutine for dinner. Life is perfect. Like, that's a Muppet. That's a fucking Muppet. So I could give you other examples of how I know that Muppets exist. We need police because there's no good men and women to stand up and do the right thing when evil is at your door. When your family acts evil, you need the police. It's crazy. All I say is, what happens when evil outnumbers the police, right? Like it hasn't already. And it doesn't matter. You can go get another 50 cops. There is no reprogramming of these evil people. You got to call it what it is. You can either reprogram somebody to not be so evil, right? Call it Scared Straight or whatever those shows are. I would say they work 90% of the time. When implemented properly, I would honestly say that you can scare a person straight. Now, they're still going to have evil, what do you call those, like intentions, like thoughts. They'll have evil thoughts, but they may not act on them, right? There's a lot of bad people in this world that, you know, you're like, oh, I should do this, and then you're like, no, 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 I shouldn't. Somebody's over there looking, you know. So like, there's people who are, you would like to do something evil, but you don't want to get caught, right? So once you've been caught, once somebody's yelled at you, that is a deterrent. Somebody has deterred you from doing evil. That's why it's so important to be a deterrent against these evil monsters, that if you're not going to be a deterrent, things will escalate. And once it escalates, trust me, like I'm telling you firsthand, I've seen what happens when people do nothing. It gets really fucking shitty really quick. And rather than just having to throw one punch, you got to throw 30 punches to calm the situation. So you could have been a deterrent. You could have slammed dude once, made him feel true power just instantaneously, snapped him out of it. Or you could just let him turn into just the most evil thing possible, right? A monster. So you got to quell it. You got to quell the storm before it gets to the point. It's like, so I'll give you an example. The U.S. Army, they dropped 110 pounds of dry ice into the eye of a hurricane in the States. I don't know when they did this. This happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, last week. I don't know, but this happened. Now, they were studying the hurricane to find out what would happen if they poured whatever type of dry ice gas or something like that into this cloud formation that was the eye of this hurricane. The hurricane did a 180. It was going away from land. The hurricane did a 180 and went straight for land. I think it took out 200 homes. It killed one person, and a bunch of 19 people were injured. One person did perish, and I don't know the exact number of homes are injured, but it was quite a few. But this was from an experiment, right? So now you can say that probably wasn't a good way to quell the storm, right? So another storm comes by. Now change storm to a crazy dude, right? Crazy dude that needs a whooping, right? Now you have a choice. You can choose not to intervene like you did last time, or intervene just slightly, or make sure you intervene and de-escalate the situation with whatever means necessary, right? And that's the most important, is that if somebody is evil, and you're there to stop the evil from occurring or escalating, is a great way to look at it and term. You're not going to be looked at as a bad guy, all right? Now, a lot of people, you're like, well, if I get involved, what if I get arrested, right? That's not going to be the case. Like, you also have to understand, you're there to stop something. You're there to help, right? You're not there to YouTube video it. You didn't do it for the Instagram. You know what I mean? You did it because this is a shitty person doing shitty things, and he's probably going to do it tomorrow, right? Think if you deter someone. Think if you get in someone's way and you give them a hard time, a bully, right? Trying to bully people. And if you give the bully a hard time, how likely, I'm being real, answer this question. How likely is that bully to do what he did the next day? Answer that question. And then when you think about it, though, don't be such a puss all your life. If you were a bully and someone confronted you, how likely would you be to do that same thing yesterday, today? Not fucking likely is the answer, goobies. As a dude who's tested this theory, it's a fact. You can stomp out evil, but you gotta be tough enough. You gotta be strong enough. And also it helps if there isn't a bunch of cameras on you, pointed right at you. It's called evidence, right? And it allows for people to be more aggressive in the moment. And maybe if dude's like, oh, he was so aggressive, you could just say, no, it wasn't. And it's your word against the horrible thief's word. If they believe the thief, then it's a witch hunt against you. It's probably been arranged in that manner. And trust me, you have no idea who my friends and family are. When the time comes, we'll know very quickly if this was a setup. We'll know very, very quickly. And there's very certain few people that have access to information like this, right? Very, very few. Those with connections to pigs will be examined very, very close. On the highest level. This is what some of you brainless fools think isn't possible. If you are a piggy, trust me, they're watching you right now. Because a lot of pigs in Canada have broken the law. A lot of pigs in Canada have broken the law. A ton in Winnipeg. But trust me, the people who are watching the piggies have a different way of dealing with the piggies who break the law. See, because you're smearing what is supposed to be a good organization to protect you. When thieves break into your house or murderers come and try and get you, you're supposed to call the pigs, right? And they're going to come with guns that they're allowed license to have, and they take out the bad guy, right? But what happens when the pigs take forever to get to your house? You have to then look at the dispatch caller, the people on duty at the 911 center, and then you look at the chief, the operating, who is allowing this to operate, who's in charge, and that's a failure. Now, what you think is that there's just slight repercussions for these piggies when they fail. No. It's a lot worse than you think, but there's certain things I can't tell you. But let's just say they'll never have a job in the police force again. And on top of that, that nice cushy pension you thought was coming, we'll erase that shit from your fucking thought so fast. So fast. You'll be in a fucking cage. Because you won't be following protocol. You'll be acting on your own recognizance, which is not how the police force works, right? If you're a cop in Canada, you take orders from the higher up and you do exactly as you're told. This is your mission statement, these are your objectives, and here are the people you're going after. If you decide to open up an investigation on people because somebody's wife asked for a favor from somebody else, that's illegal. But trust me, that stuff doesn't reach light of day. What happens is people are released and probably far worse is done to them later on, right? But when you know, right? And there's people out there that they're cops and they're narcs and they're stealing money from other people while they're on the job and they're not handing that money in, right? So there's cops out there that are actually thieves, not policemen, right? There are cops that don't arrest certain drug dealers because they profit off of the drugs that dealers are selling. There are certain drug dealers that don't get arrested because they're working with the cops, right? And when you understand this, then you realize how corrupt the police are and the system itself. That you're supposed to be a good citizen, the cops are working with fucking killers. You don't have to look very far to see this. You can look at any Hell's Angel organization and see that they've been overrun with piggies for decades. Since Mom Boucher in the 90s. And anybody with access to a computer can quickly find this out. Now the Hells Angels, they're saying the Hells Angels aren't even the biggest gang anymore. They say it's this, I was watching this YouTube video, they say it's this BMF crew. and BMF, I don't know what it stands for, pussies and bigger pussies, but these guys are, they actually killed almost all the Hells Angels in Quebec. There was a biker war, there was a gang war. A 26-year-old boy was giving calls, was making calls to have Hells Angels killed. Like, you can't make this up. I'm in awe of how, like, these stories and the way they go, it smells of Secret Service. It reeks of Secret Service. And to understand what they are, man, these people are the most corrupt people on the planet. Connected to human trafficking. It's disgusting. Disgusting. We should have a death sentence in Canada for anybody caught human trafficking. There should be a death sentence. But we don't value human life here in Canada. I gotta check the age of consent. But there's so many dirty old men here in politics. They want that age lowered. In England, the dirty old men in England, they've been trying to lower it to the age of 12 for consent. Dirty, dirty old men in England. That is so despicable. Probably because of all the what's happened in the news and the media. They're like, well, in England it's legal to bang a 12-year-old. It's like, you guys are fucking disgusting. And again, it's only going to be old men with tiny dinks that like that style of person, right? Fucking gross me right out. Old men are so despicable. So grimy, so gross. I don't know why, but British men really gross me out. Some people don't like. Some people think that Frenchmen are the creepiest. I swear it's British, British and American, right? Of course, there's some weird ass redneck Canadians. You fit right in with the redneck American, right? But I think it goes creepy old British dude, creepy old redneck from America, and then absolutely creepy old Canadian. There are some sick Canadians, man. But again, you guys have 10 times the population, so let's use America as a prime example for where they hold the most dirty old men. America, guaranteed it's America. Look in your jails. I'm 45 years old. I've never, ever done anything creepy. So I can't imagine fucking how few Americans can say that, right? I got a question for Google. Let's see how many. I want to ask this question. How many convicted pedophiles are there in America? Hey Google, how many convicted pedophiles live in America?
exact figure for the number of convicted pedophiles specifically, we can look at the data for registered sex offenders in the United States, as many individuals convicted of pedophilia would be included in these registries. As of August 2024, there were 795,066 individuals listed on...
Oh my God. That's... Is that 1 in 40 if that was in Canada? Hey Google, how many convicted pedophiles live in Canada?
While specific real-time data on the exact number of convicted pedophiles currently residing in Canada is not publicly available for privacy and security reasons, there are mechanisms in place to monitor individuals convicted of sex offenses, including those involving children. Here's what information can be gathered.
You're telling me in Canada you can't actually, you don't know who is a pedophile? Currently residing in Canada is not publicly available for privacy and security reasons. Oh my God. Oh my God. That means that the politicians in Canada have created these laws to ensure that pedophiles have privacy and safety. Now, why would a politician care so much about protecting pedophiles? Oh my God. Hey Google, does Canada protect pedophiles' privacy?
While Canada respects the privacy of all individuals to a reasonable extent, this right is balanced against the need to protect the public, especially children, from sexual offenders. Here's a breakdown of how Canadian law addresses this. Privacy considerations. The Sex Offender Information Registration Act, SOIRA, acknowledges the privacy interests of sex offenders, stating that their privacy should be respected in a manner that...
Oh my God. Who created SWARA, the Sex Offender Information Registry Act? Who created the Sex Offender Registration? Who created the Sex Offender Information Registration Act? Oof. Hey Google, who created the Sex Offender Information Act? Hey Google, in Canada, who created SWARA, the Sex Information... Oh, I forgot what it was. Hey Google, who created the Sex Information Act in Canada?
The legislation you're likely referring to is the Sex Offender Information Registration Act, SOIRA. This act, which established Canada's National Sex Offender Registry, was enacted by the Parliament of Canada. Specifically, the legislative process involved introduction as Bill C-23. The initial version of the legislation was introduced in the House of Commons as Bill C-23 on December 11, 2002. This followed unanimous requests from the provinces and territories in 2001 to create a national sex offender registry. Reintroduction as Bill C-16. After Parliament prorogued, the bill was reintroduced as Bill C-16 on February 12, 2004. Royal Assent. Bill C-16 received royal assent on April 1, 2004, officially enacting the...
I'm seeing some correlations here. So they had to put some amendments in the bill. It sounds like they had to go back and royal assent. It was Bill C-23 and then they turned it into Bill C-16. So therefore the Parliament of Canada is responsible for creating this act. Disgusting. So hey Google, who was in control of the Parliament from 2001 to 2004?
According to the information available, during the period of 2001 to 2004, the Canadian Parliament was in its 37th Parliament. Specifically, the Liberal Party held a majority in the House of Commons.
Oh my God. Oh my God. There's your answer. The Liberal Party held a majority and decided to create that law to protect sex offenders. Privacy. Oh my God. If you knew what I knew about the last Liberal leader, oh my God. Does it ever all make sense? You know, they call Carbo Carney a financial central banker, a crisis banker. They literally call him, they label him in Canada in the news, a crisis banker. He has 2 terms at the central bank being a crisis banker. And I'm not sure if it's on this phone. I believe it is. Let me show you some real bullshit here. Check this out. You want to see something fucked? Hang on here. I got to figure out how to do that. Oh. It won't. I can't show you right now. I have to open up the files. I'll be back. I'm going to show you some things that's going to blow your mind.